Palmistry reading of a 41-year-old male. He's residing outside India, so we would be taking a look at this particular hand. Before I start my reading, I would request you to press the bell icon on YouTube and don't miss another update. To get a reading from me, you can call me or you can email me. These are the phone number and the email that are mentioned out here. Now we straight away head to this particular hand image. So what we see on this particular hand image is that the first impression that we get is that there are less lines all over the palm. This is the first impression that we get hold over it. Lesser lines over the palm is generally considered to be better than having more lines over your palm. So this is basically the first positive aspect that I can see. See, what happens is that these are the normal lines. This is the heart line, this is the head line, and this is the lifeline. These can be found on almost all peoples, and this is the fate line. So this can be found on almost all kind of peoples. But many people, what they have, they have got crisscrossing lines over it. So horizontal kind of lines are negative, and vertical lines from any line moving upward are comparatively positive kind of lines. So in general, there are less lines. Lesser lines is always better because it is kind of, there are no blockages. There are no roadblocks. When I say no roadblocks, it does not mean that the person would not have had a tough time in his life. But what it basically means is that even if he had a very tough time, even then what he would have been able to control those tough times and move ahead in their life. This is what basically it means. When we are reading the hand, the first things that we have to take into account is the hand structure. By hand structure, we basically mean the bone structure in the hand, in the fingers, as well as the palm. This is the main aspect of the palm reading. And generally, people think that they want to know about money. This is the money line. People think that if they have money line, everything is going to be good, but it is not so. It is basically, what is more important is the hand structure. Hand structure basically consists of the strong bones and the padding over the fingers, like the skin over the fingers and the palm. If it is strong kind of a hand, which where we find that it's a reasonably strong kind of a hand, it means better hold over people, money, and resources. It means that even when the person doesn't have appropriate amount of money, even then they would go on to do bigger kind of work, and they would have a very good control over people. So whatever people are working under these people, these people would have a very strong control over them. And let's suppose a work basically requires 100 people, and only then can it be completed. But if the person has 50 people, even then the person has that particular capability, has that particular hold over those people to basically make it happen, make it come true. So this is a positive aspect. And if a person has got, let's imagine if a person had a very weak kind of a fingers and very weak kind of a palm, it would mean that even if the person is born in a rich family, even then the person would not have a better control over his people, the money he has basically got from his ancestors. So it's, those are basically negative kind of hands. Strong hands exert strong possibilities in one's life. So this is the most positive aspect. The second thing, a strong hand can also be correlated. A strong hand can also be correlated to a strong building. So whenever you are basically making a strong building, you have to dig the earth deep, and you have to put these iron girders, strong iron girders and cementing. So what happens is that with the strong iron girders and strong cementing, the building that is going to come up is going to be able to withstand earthquakes and flooding and everything. So in a human's life, in a human's life, what happens is these bone structure are the iron girders, and the padding over the fingers and the skin over the fingers basically is the cementing. So if this is strong, automatically everything in life is likely to be much more stronger, compared to the other people. So this is what basically it means. The As far as the lines goes, we are now basically going deeper into what each line basically depicts. Before that, I would just repeat one thing that I repeat in almost all my videos. See, many people who are basically watching this videos, they might have a question. I would not be giving a free reading to all of them, but what I can do is I can answer specific questions related to palmistry. So you can basically put down your question down below in the comment section. Now we head back to the hand. So we were talking about the lines, and we in the first we are going to talk about the headline. This is basically the headline, and this is the lifeline. So what is happening is both these lines are joined together at the initial start for a very long duration of time. Normally what happens is that some people might just have a line something like this, the headline out here, and it's barely touching at the lifeline something like this, so it's joined just at the initial start. Some cases it could be that there's a wide gap between both these lines. Wide gap would make it rash. The person would be rash and outgoing, and when they are barely joining each other, it would mean that the person is just in time for everything. But nor is he rash, nor is he just in time for everything, because both these lines are joined at a very long duration. Basically it signifies that the person is very cautious, very shy, and very hardworking. So these are the three things that are going to repeatedly play out in his life. The person could be snail paced, like the snail is very walking in a very very slow fashion, so the person could be snail faced. In the story of hare and tortoise, this person is basically the tortoise. So it is said in that particular story, if we come to know that there's a basically path out here, and they have to follow the path, the hare and tortoise. The tortoise is following the path and going slow and steady, but the hare is going somewhere out here, so getting distracted. So ultimately, the tortoise wins the race, and it also is the same in our life as well. So this is the most positive aspect. So initially, it might have seemed in his case also like he might have felt that people around him, they are basically reaching to high position and he's basically left behind. But as time went past by, right now he's age 41, so by this time he would have that this kind of a realization that he's covering up the distance he had lost. So it doesn't mean that he had lost anything. It just means he was slow and steady. When people were jumping from here to there, he was working slow and steady and consistently. See, consistency is a thing that brings success. And when both these lines are joined, the life and the headline, this basically brings consistency. And these people can also do very boring kind of work repeatedly. So this is what is required. So what happens is, this is basically the graph of business. So what happens is that in the initial period, everybody basically joins in. Every Tom, Dick, and Harry basically joins in. But this is an upward graph. Everybody enjoys this upward graph. Then when the downward graph happens, then people are running away from the work. So 90% of the people have actually left by this particular point, 95%. But this person would have remained committed, would have been cautious, very shy, and consistent. So this person would have remained in the same work, and that is the reason why he would have taken that bigger jump again. So what basically it means is that success is going to come to this person at a particular time later, in the later part of their lives. For some people it could be 35, for some people it could be after the age of 44. This is just an approximate timing that I'm giving when both these lines are joined at the initial start. So the person might have also experienced that many opportunities basically had passed away from his life. So the person might feel that those opportunities were lost, but I would say that opportunities lost is a better sign than availing all the opportunities. It's better to lose the opportunity because you are left with fewer opportunities in your life, because the person would have fewer opportunities. So in fewer opportunities, basically you're basically sharpening your skills and making it better. So there's no competition for this particular person left by the time he's 40, 41, 42. That's the approximate, I would say. Now we would talk about the early age in his life. In the early age, what is happening is this is the headline. This is the starting period of the head and the lifeline. At this point, you would see there are few backward lines. These could be said that these are backward, or they could reverse. We can say lines from the Mount of Jupiter. From the Mount of Jupiter, they are originating and joining in to the head or the lifeline. They could be both, these would have the similar kind of a meaning. If they are joining the lifeline, that means your life is getting guided by Jupiter. What Jupiter basically means is Jupiter is basically the planet for growth and expansion and ambition. Jupiter is the biggest planet. It basically brings about growth in one's life, honor in one's life, administration, religion, politics, honor. All these things are basically correlated with Jupiter. When the lines from Jupiter join into the headline, it means the head is getting guided by Jupiter. That means your whole thought process is basically moving towards a higher position. That's what your goal is. If your lifeline, these lines join your lifeline, it basically means your life is getting guided by Jupiter, which automatically means that you want honor constantly in your life. So this is what basically it represents. So these upward lines is not necessarily only giving result in the early period of the life. This point is around age 18 and like a little bit backwards, so 0 to 18. So you would notice that during these particular years, the person would still have got honor even at an early age in his life. So this is, and honor is something that is not like suddenly you want honor at one particular point of your life and you're working towards it. It is ingrained right from your childhood. So the person who is constantly wanting honor from the childhood, it's going to get honor even at the old age as well. So this is a positive aspect. Now, as such, if we take a look at the lifeline, the quality of the lifeline is good, deep and clear. That's how it should be. It should not have branches moving downwards from the lifeline, or it shouldn't be wavy kind of a line. Wavy kind of a line would make the health bad, or branches downward would bring in more losses. So all these things cannot be seen on this particular hand. So that's a positive aspect. But we see, what we find is that we find a reverse kind of a line, backward kind of a line, pointing towards the Mount of Saturn, this line that we are referring to. So backward kind of a line from the lifeline are generally considered to be luck lines, and specifically if it goes towards the Mount of Saturn. Saturn is basically for money, possessions, wealth. It is for wisdom. It is for responsibility. It is for being grounded. All these things basically come from this particular area. So we find that this V-like portion is forming. V doesn't mean victory. V is just a good sign. Any line pointing towards the fingers, I would say it's a beautiful kind of a line. From any line, it can be from your headline, it can be from your heart line. Any line moving towards the finger is always good. Any line moving downwards downwards is basically considered to be good. Like from the heart line, there's a line going downwards towards the base of the palm. So those are basically negative. Otherwise, it's positive. Now, what we find about the this particular line is that it's deep and clear. There's a upward kind of a line, a positive kind of a line, and apart from that, there's also a supporting line. This supporting line is starting on the Mount of Mars. This is the Mount of Mars negative. This is just the name. It is not a negative area. It is a very positive area, but the name is Mars negative, the inner Mars. So when we find that the line is there running parallel to the lifeline, this is basically a line of a armor around this particular person. And till the time this line remains, it means that some armor is around this particular person till the time this line basically exists. So if we just time the event, so it's going to be somewhere till this particular age. this particular age could be approximately 65. That's the approximate, I would say, that the protection is going to remain. It's not that protection, the later portion of the lifeline is bad, so it doesn't mean that if the later portion would have been bad, then we would have said negative things, but we don't find any negatives in things as such. Now, this particular line is kind of a protection line. This is also a line for being a fighter, that fighting spirit within us, the spark within us, the spark within us. जो चिंगारी होती है, the chingari within us. And the horizontal lines that we find out here, this is the only strong horizontal lines that we find. These are a little bit negative, although because it's not coming and touching the lifeline. This is the lifeline. This line is not coming and touching the lifeline, so it is the intensity of the negative lines is not so much, so it would be restricted. And this particular line also is the same. The supporting lifeline, what it does, it's kind of a armor. It is kind of a speed breaker. And there's a truck or a cycle or a scooter or a strong thing coming, and on a speed breaker the speed basically decreases out here, and basically by the time it touches the lifeline, it doesn't even touch the lifeline, it vanishes away. So a problem, it would seem a problem is coming somewhere around the age of, let's say, 46, 50. That's the approximate age, but it's going to vanish away. So in that way it is good, because trouble lines kind of distract the person in general people, and those are not good signs. Now we come to the other aspect, that is the heart line. See, this is basically the heart line. There's a branch out here which is coming and joining the headline. This branch is a little bit negative sign. Branches on the heart line, specifically leaning downwards out here. Leaning downwards is a negative sign to have. It means, it is something like, what it means is, imagine this is the physical heart, and on the heart there's a branch that is hanging. And this branch, if it is strong, it's a reasonably strong branch, so it is exerting huge amount of weight onto the heart, so it is straining one's heart. But as such, if we take a look at the whole of the heart line, it is near to perfect. It's deep and clear and singular. See, many people, what they have, they might have a broken kind of a heart line. Broken kind of a heart line would mean broken kind of relationships, the first thing. But we don't find any such thing out here. Broken heart line could also mean that the person starts to do a particular work, but he abruptly ends that particular work or profession and joins something else. So people who are like this, they never get success. But out here, because the heart line is deep and clear and singular, the person is able to dedicate, is able to offer his life to a single cause. When you are able to offer your life to a single cause, that's when a person can become successful. So our simple heart line also means, what it basically means, it means detachment. Now, detachment does not mean detaching from your wife, your parents, your brother, your sister, or your children. Or detachment does not mean not enjoying your life. Detachment also does not mean not staying in a top hotel or driving the best of car. It doesn't mean, that is not detachment. Detachment is purely and purely being in the moment without having expectation of the outcome. This is what Bhagavad Gita says. So whatever the message of Bhagavad Gita, we have to basically see if the person is following detachment, the chances for his success increases, because he is always in the moment. There's no expectation of the outcome. So that's when people get success. So so this is one of the most, I value the heartline more in terms for success in even your profession. People think that heartline would tell about their emotional life or their personal life. Yes, it does, but at the same time, it also tells about your relationships as well. So people who have a single, deep and singular kind of a line are never stressed. They never feel that stress. The person might say that there are few problems, but having few problems does not mean that the person is kind of uh, in stress. It doesn't mean that the person is not able to handle stress. So this person can handle stress very well, and because the person can handle stress, so whatever challenges come to this particular person, he's able to handle and just move ahead in his life. So this is the very, very positive aspect, and I value this line to be the most important line for success or failure. People who have a heart line which is either broken or lots of branches, those people do not get success because they are constantly distracted and constantly flirtatious. But this person is not flirtatious, the person is focused and is able to offer his life to a single cause. That's when people get success. Now we take a look at the money line. Now the money line, people think that money line tells about everything about money, uh, but I have always right from my starting of the video, I was talking about money. The importance of money line in terms of how much money we are going to have is going to be very limited. It's only 10% to 15%. That's the maximum we can tell on your money line how much money you might have. So the importance of money line in terms of money is very less. It's very, very less. So but still I'm going to explain to you whatever the money line is basically depicting. Now, there are two money lines I can categorize. That two lines can be categorized as money line. One is the line from the lifeline. This is the lifeline moving towards the upward. This is also called the luck line, and we can also call this as the money or the fate line. So it's kind of deep and clear. It kind of originates somewhere around the age of probably 30, late 30s, and it moves upwards. So this is a positive time. Now, this line is a little bit doubtful what it is, because this is first it is moving purely and purely towards the amount of sun. Sun is taken for how good your career is going to be. So in the initial period, it appears to be a sun line, but as it touches the headline, this intersection is age 35. This intersection is age 35, where the head and the money or the sunlight comes and touches the line of head. This intersection is 35. So what is happening is that at the age of 35, suddenly things basically change. 35, and that's when this is the initial part, but then the whole path, basically the whole direction basically changes. Now the direction basically changes out here, and it points, if this line would have continued, it would have continued somewhere out here, somewhere between the Mercury or the Sun mount. But when it turns towards the Saturn, so Saturn is basically more for money. So at the age of 35, many things would have changed. So between 35 to 53, this intersection, the heart line and the money line, the fate line, this is age 53. So this is when the money line vanishes and a new line basically develops. So this line is again moving towards the amount of Saturn. So moving towards Saturn is good. There are very few lines over the amount of Saturn. Do not be alarmed, because less lines is always considered to be good. I value that people who have got less lines over the amount of Saturn is always a good sign to have, because Saturn is a very slow moving planet. Imagine this is Sun out here, center, and then this is the axis of the Saturn. So out here, this is Saturn. So it's revolving around the Sun. So if there are too many lines out here, crisscrossing kind of lines, so what's going to happen is that they are going to be blockages out here, roadblocks in the path of Saturn. So what's going to happen is it would bring more delays in a person's life. But because the person does not have too many lines over the amount of Saturn, so those delays the person might not experience. And it doesn't mean that the person would not have to do hard work, because Saturn is all about hard work, hard work, hard work, and hard work. So having less lines over it and a strong path, the person's capacity to do hard work basically increases. This is the other aspect. The other aspect is that on the mount of Mercury, the person has got two perpendicular lines and one slanted kind of a line. All these three lines are considered to be good because they have got reasonable kind of strength in it. because strong mercury area basically represents that the person has got strong set of skills. A person who has got strong set of skills, the chances for their success increases. Now these skills can be in any form. These skills can be in the form of communication, technical skills, business skills, any kind of skill. So this is what basically is represented by mercury. Some people, they might have crisscrossing lines over it. It means that the person would miscommunicate and miscalculate. But because there are strong, deep, and perpendicular lines, it means strong set of skills that the person is sharpening. If these lines were a little bit more deeper and darker, I would have said certainly much better. There appears to be also a mole out here on the finger of Mercury. Basically, it's a good sign. Mole makes a particular area significant, and if it is significant, so it has to do significance in the area of communication skills area. So this is a positive aspect. It appears that this area appears to be well padded, the area of Venus the area of your desires and the warmth within you. This is also the area of your vitality and stamina and energy and the fuel within you. People who have got good Venus have lots of warmth, and they can make lots of partnerships. So that's a positive sign, and these people have that energy and stamina, and they basically don't get tired. The good part about the head and the heartline is that there's a reasonably strong, nice gap between them. So it brings in more of predictability. Just this particular joining of the line out here might bring in misplaced affection at one area, not all the relationship, just one area. And as such, it's going to not going to be too much. And just take a look at the left hand for a brief while. Left hand and the right hand differences: left is the hand of past, right is the hand of present. Left is passive hand, right is active hand. So there's not much. See, some people, they might have totally different hands, and some people, they might have totally similar hands. So I see lots of similarity. This upward line for honor, deep and clear line of heart, ending under the mount of Saturn, it brings in more of responsibility, caution. It brings in a person is more grounded, and the person values money. This line, upward line, can also be seen in the from the lifeline, is also seen in the right hand. Also, the same indications, luck, and out here also the same kind of thing, that initially it's point towards the amount of sun, but then it moves towards kind of Saturn, and somewhere between Saturn and Jupiter. Jupiter is not for money, so uh, if it angles more towards Saturn, that's going to be a better sign. So from 35 to 53, it's going to be one kind of a trend, and then after the age of 53, they're going to be a little bit different kind of a trend. So best kind of money might come after the age of 53, because it's pointing towards purely towards the amount of Saturn. In the left hand, the sun line out here comparatively much more stronger. I think it's much more stronger. Let me just take a look at it. Yes, on the right hand, the sun line is not so deep and clear, uh, but there are less lines over the amount of Saturn. Again, the same thing I indicate in almost all my videos. If you have a very strong line, it's a reasonably good, it's a good sign. But if you do not have any line as such also, and it has got less lines over it, even Shah Rukh Khan has got very less lines over it. So no line, and he's super world famous. Uh, so you don't need to have a very strong line in order to have a strong career as such, because the quality of the hand is good, because the person is practicing detachment, the person is focused because of a strong, deep and clear sun line, a very good Venus, which means that the person doesn't waste energies, and a good Mars, basically the Mars negative, good area, because the person is not wasting his fire, because Mars is the area of fire and Venus is the area of energy and warmth. So it's not one line that brings success or failure, it's a combination of all these lines put together which might bring success or failure. So I would end this particular video, but before I end this particular video, there's a very important thing that I repeat in almost all my videos. So just take a look, just wait for a while and take a look at it. Importance of money line in terms of how much money we will have is just 15%. We can come to know about money from almost all aspects of our hands. It can be your heart line, your head line, your money line. your Sun, your Mercury, Venus, Mars, or any other line or mount. So, uh, so money, possession, and wealth, it's not only money line that we see, it's the other aspects of your palm. A saint once said, you do not need to go to an astrologer or palmist to know about your future because you already know your future. Present is the result of past. How will be my future? Future depends upon what you are doing at the present. What are we? We are product of our thoughts. So the thoughts that come to our mind are really important. Keep keep positive thoughts. Keep good company because company matters the most. Sometimes the hand is excellent, but if the person does not have good company, so what's going to happen is that things are not going to play out in a good way in the palm. And sometimes the hand doesn't show any quality as such, and yet the person, uh, but if we look at their life, we find that they're successful, then they have got many things, probably because they have had very good company in their lives. So company matters the most. And in Hindi, we say satsang, being in the good company of people. Thanks for watching this video. Bye and take care. Press the bell icon on YouTube. Don't miss another update.